folks. Why Would You Ask That is a podcast that answers some of the weirdest questions. A lot of those are inappropriate for some listeners. If you're squeamish, easily disturbed, or just having a bad day, this may not be for you. But if you've got to know the answers like we do, stay tuned.
Why Would You Ask That? Presented by me, they, them, and
Karen, she, her.
And Remy, he, him.
Maybe I should do the and. Huh?
Oh, I mean, you and. Do it again. And.
And? I'm just kidding. Karen, she, her, and
Remy, he, him.
perfect.
Well, today, Remy will be talking about drag balls. We mentioned it last episode, and I have really no idea anything about drag balls. I knew stuff about Polari because I did stuff with Polari, but drag balls, not so much. I don't really know anything about drag except that it exists, and everybody hates RuPaul except for people who love RuPaul, but RuPaul is like, he's got issues or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not nice. He's not very nice.
Doesn't he have like an app game?
He does, and it gets advertised to me a lot. Yeah, you can create like your own. It's kind of like the Kim Kardashian game, I guess. I think it's probably by the same people. The art looks really similar, so I'm like, oh, they've got the same PR person or something. But yeah, RuPaul has gotten a lot of, like, the people who love RuPaul will fight for RuPaul to the death, but RuPaul has said unkind things about trans people. And he claims, like, his defense is that, you know, it's very trans exclusionary. Like his TV show, all of his other shows, like live shows, anything like that. So he doesn't want trans people participating in drag events.
I went to look up what RuPaul's statement was about trans people. That was what I was reading.
Oh.
I see.
They had a contestant on the show named Peppermint who is a trans woman, but RuPaul qualified her stint on the show as saying that because she didn't have breast implants, she was allowed to be on the show, even though she identified as a woman. But if she had, quote, but said she hadn't really transitioned yet, is what he said.
Oh, yeah.
And that identifying herself as a woman doesn't count as transitioning, and that asked if he would allow somebody with breast implants or who had, quote, fully transitioned to compete on his show. He said, no, you can identify as a woman and say you're transitioning, but once you start changing your body, then it takes on a different thing. He said it takes on the concept of what you're doing, then it's not drag, which is wrong. Cisgendered women can also do female drag. It's just they're called something different, but cisgender women can also dress up as women and still be doing drag. It's just they're called something different.
What are they called?
They're called divas or faux queens.
Oh!
Huh.
Yep.
Oh my god. This is like opened a whole new world for me.
Yeah, they're called female queens, diva queens, faux queens, or hyper queens.
Hyper queen.
It's just a cisgender woman performing exaggerated femininity. It's just they're doing the same thing that a male drag queen is doing, except they're cisgender. Like they're doing the same thing. Like they're still wearing the same wigs and costumes and makeup and things like that.
Yeah, they're creating a character.
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Kind of very fucked up. 2/3 of this podcast is trans.
Yeah.
Unless you have news, Karen.
Nah. I did see a TikTok today, though, that kind of made sense to me. It spoke to me on another level. It was like, they're like, I would totally do this guy, like, if I was a girl. And then they're like, wait, am I gay for thinking that? And then, like, they figure out that they're pan, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. And then they're like, now, I hope I'm a girl in my next life. And they're like, wait, am I trans? But I feel like a guy, but also a bad bitch. And I'm like, wow, oh, yeah. Like, I feel like I have a lot of masculine energy within me, but also, I feel very girl. So, gender is a construct.
It is. That's why I don't really have one.
Your gender is green.
It is. It is. My gender is green. Everything I own is green. My boss came by my desk the other day and he looked me up and down. He said, I bet tomorrow is a green day. And I said, oh my gosh, how did you know?
You should go in your otter sweater. Mix it up.
I do sometimes, but I always wear green with it.
Damn. I'm just kidding.
I got green pants to cover if I don't have a green top.
Ah.
But drag balls. Let's circle back around.
Yes, please. I want to learn everything there is to know about them.
So, Remy, hit us up with that sweet info. Don't know what I was doing there.
Okay. So, I guess when we start out talking about drag, we should put a, like, quote, unquote, official definition to drag. So, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the word drag has existed since the 1300s. But its first official usage to mean performing in clothes or a persona different from your own gender was in the 19th century. So whenever somebody puts on clothing with the intent to wear it as a performance with some type of ironic distance, according to Joe Jeffries, a drag historian and a professor of theater studies at New York University, many societies have prohibited women from performing on stage, so boys and men have took to the female roles. So in ancient Greek theater, men played females. In English Renaissance theater, the men have played the female roles. And in Japanese kabuki theater, men still sometimes play female roles. So Japanese kabuki theater in the 17th century used to be all female.
Oh.
Actually, which I found really interesting. So this is my sidetrack. Because for everyone else, it was the other way around, except Japan.
Yeah.
So in Japan in the 17th century, it was all female troops performing both the male and the female roles. And then in the 1620s, the disrepute of the kabuki performances, or of at least the audiences surrounding it, led to the banning of women from the stage. But kabuki was really popular, so it inspired the formation of all male troops to just carry on with the performances.
Oh my god.
Then the men started doing the female parts. So in kabuki, the portrayal of female characters by men is known as onagata, and the practice is detailed in a story of the same name by the Japanese writer Yukio Mishima. All the roles in also no dramas are also traditionally played by male actors. Actors playing female roles wear feminine costumes and female featured masks. So this has just been going on like a long time. In Renaissance England, women were forbidden from performing on stage until mid 1600s. So female roles were played in like Shakespeare plays by like younger boys before puberty. Just all of that. Karen mentioned it last week when we were talking in between like parts of the episode, when we were like musing about the drag balls about Shakespeare. So I'm bringing it up. So cross-gender acting was not considered performing femininity because I looked it up because I said it, and then Karen had some very good points about why it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't consider it performing femininity because they were incredibly worried that the boys would literally just become feminine if they took on those roles, which is why eventually women got to do it.
Ah.
They weren't, because they had to embody the roles so much when they became those characters that they worried that by embodying those roles that they would become female and turn all the men in the audience gay.
Oh my god, they're so right.
They're afraid of the method acting.
They thought because their job was to incite desire in the male audience members, that all the men were going to turn gay because they were going to like watch one of Shakespeare's like more sexually charged plays with all these young boys acting stuff out that were sexually charged, and that the men would get so confused about what was happening that they would be like, what? This boy in dress and makeup? But woman, what?
These are the same people that invented tablecloths because table legs made them horny. So
What?
Basically.
What? Oh my god. What?
What?
I did not know this. You got it. When? When did this happen?
You're gonna have to make me pull up the Google.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, what?
Oh, Atlas Obscura says that it's a sexy myth.
Oh.
So they were probably making fun of people, but still stands. I love it, and I'm gonna keep saying it.
Oh, it's like one of the Rainbow Party.
Except the opposite.
The first time the word showed up referring to these kinds of performances was in 1870 in the newspaper, and the quote was, "We shall come in drag," which means men wearing women's costumes. Quote, the paper read. Like, the paper included the definition.
Oh. Huh.
The paper included the quote, "We shall come in drag," and then ended the quote, and then provided the definition, which means men wearing women's costumes. End quote.
So does that kind of imply that it had already been common nomenclature as far as, like, speaking? Like, it hadn't been written yet, but it was, like, common to say, at least among theater troupes.
Yeah, so what probably was happening is that the definition probably originated in the theater sometime in the 1800s, where male performers were still wearing the petticoats and stuff to perform as women, and then the petticoats dragging on the floor, and they referred to it as dressing as women as putting on their drags, is where they think the term came from.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, that is definitely something theater kids would come up with. I love it. It's okay. I have friends that are theater kids. So,
did you really just say that?
I know.
We both know you don't have theater children friends.
Yes, I do.
We're theater children.
Oh, wow. You're right, though. I think like 2 or 3 of them are actually acting professionally, which is like good for them. Good for them, and good for the people who didn't take up acting as a career.
I was a theater kid.
I don't know how anybody would do it.
I was a wannabe theater kid. I hung around all the theater kids.
This is the extent of my acting.
This podcast?
Yes.
Oh.
And whatever it is that I do at work, when I just fuck around and fuck with people. It's my storytelling prowess.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was a theater kid. I did Eliza Doolittle, My Fair Lady. I sang Wouldn't It Be Loverly and all of that. I don't know how I managed it.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Shit, it impresses me for people who I can't even talk.
I know, I've impressed you so much. I think it was because I was in choir for 8 years before I was in theater.
That would definitely help.
Yeah.
When I was in choir, when they had us go on stage, I couldn't remember the words, so I just stood up and opened and closed my mouth.
Aw.
And they gave me an A.
Nailed it.
I did competitions.
I think they knew when I was doing it.
Oh.
You did competition!
Yeah, I did our all region competition. So where the people from like all over, the state and stuff do competitions. I was 16th chair, which is impressive because hundreds of people try out.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
That's pretty good, dude.
That's a lot of chairs.
Yeah, there's like
Oh, Emma.
so in the alto section, there's like 30 altos or something, I don't know. And so I was 16 from the front, but I didn't get to go and do the further better. I was not asked to go do the further better competition
Oh,
because I wasn't close enough to the front.
oh.
I had to audition with a song in German and with a song like Scarborough Fair, I think, was the other song that we had to sing.
Do you know what the German song was?
No. I don't remember anymore. It has now been more than 10 years.
That's true. Damn. I didn't even think about that. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I did theater. I also auditioned for and got into both Wizard of Oz and The Sound of Music, and then got nervous and quit both of them.
Oh no.
I was going to be a nun, and I didn't last long enough to figure out what my part was going to be in The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, Remy, let's get you in The Wizard of Oz. Let's go. I'm going.
You're gonna see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
But considering that I'm very short,
they're
I
going.
would have been a munchkin.
I'm coming down.
Let's take me to Broadway. Yeah, I might have quit My Fair Lady if I hadn't have watched The Wizard of Oz and seen a person that I super hated up on the stage, probably in my spot, and I was like, she sucks. She can't sing worth anything. And I was like, next year, when I get in, I'm not quitting. And I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Everything on my life is done out of spite.
I feel that.
Relatable.
Probably keep moving through life.
Yep. Anyway, theater kids. So by the 1920s, the term drag was being used by gay people to refer to, how we know it now. One theory is that it entered the community from Polari, which is what we talked about last episode and how we got here.
Oh.
By 1927, and I know this is the 1920s, but Polari did exist in the 1800s, just not in the form that we talked about it last episode. Polari, in some form or another, has existed since about the 1700s. It's just cobbled together into the way that we talked about it last episode by the 1950s. So by 1927, drag was linked with the LGBTQ community basically exclusively. A.J. Rossinoff's 1927 Manual of Psychiatry defined drag as, quote, an outfit of female dress worn by a homosexual, end quote.
Any homo?
Any homo.
Any homo?
It says. Or as an event, quote.
Well, homo sapiens.
A social gathering of homosexuals at which some are in female dress, quote.
I love these, very dry definitions here.
So playing with gender and performance wasn't reserved to just men. Even then, at the turn of the century, female performed as male impersonators. A little later, the Harlem Renaissance had celebrated performers like Gladys Bentley, who wore a top hat and tails. And we think that drag king as a term originated sometime around this era, the 1920s, which is a drag queen but reversed.
Have you seen the ones that do both? I like the ones that do both.
At the same time?
Oh, yeah, they do one side.
Victoria.
It's very cool.
Doesn't Titus do that? I forget his last name.
Andronicus.
Yeah, Titus Andromedon.
Oh! I'm over here I don't fucking know.
I think he did that. It was great.
So what do they do at the balls, Remy?
They took him.
Oh, I get it!
I'm not even ready to talk about the balls yet, but that's a good joke.
Thank you.
Go on!
Okay, by 1932, the term drag was in the headlines, and an article from an African-American newspaper was titled "Queer Sex Busy Planning Drags," detailed a drag, quote, quote, as an event that was attended by 300 people. Some that had a, quote, keenness for blonde wigs. So I just like learning that was what was popular at the time.
Isn't it still popular?
It is still popular, with plans for like upcoming drag balls. The participants were called members of the third sex in the newspapers to describe same-sex attracted masculine women or feminine men.
Okay. The third sex.
Yep. So during this time period, there was a division amongst queer white men. You were either a masculine guy or a feminine man, and it was expected that you were also dressing in drag, even if you didn't. And those ones were called the third sex.
Oh, okay. Huh.
The feminine men or the masculine women.
Still putting us in boxes, y'all.
Yep.
I don't have time for that.
I'm tired to think of my box.
Yeah. So, that was a good one.
So in bars at that time, half of the crowd might wear drag to get around laws that forbade members of the same sex from dancing together. But, of course, there were also laws that criminalized wearing clothing articles from the opposite sex, but still. In the 1950s, drag queens began doing actual performances in bars and spaces that were specifically catering to gay people, like a club called the Black Cat in San Francisco, which was a gay bar. And as more gay bars began to pop up, drag solidified itself as like a gay art form and not just straight men impersonating women for the sake of comedy.
Ooh.
Which, this is news. This is like news to me, when I was first ever researching this, that drag performances have existed even as far as the 1950s. Since initially I thought of drag as like a more modern thing, drag performances in this way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't know about drag until like early, even late aughts. But it's existed for a long time. Like, I mean, they've always had drag queens be the butt of the joke in a lot of sitcoms and things like that. But, it was never really a praised art form until, I guess it was, I don't know, what did bring drag into more of like the popular culture?
I can tell you.
Okay.
So continuing,
but you'd have to kill me.
down the timeline, the rise of masculinity in the 1970s gay culture diminished the popularity of drag queens, but drag found its way into the pop culture with John Waters. I don't know if you've heard of John Waters, but you absolutely most certainly have heard of John Waters' star performer Divine, the drag queen.
That sounds familiar.
Divine is the drag queen that they modeled Ursula from The Little Mermaid after.
Yes! Oh, yes. I know her.
Now, Em, do you know?
No?
Okay, hold on. I'll give you a picture. I didn't bother to pull up a picture because I was like, probably.
Sorry. You were counting on me to know things, and I have ignorance today, my friend.
Nah. Never. I mean...
Oh my golly goodness. How do you get your hair to move like that?
Hairspray.
Oh.
Which was big. I love her. She's fantastic.
Divine.
Hey! There you go!
Here's one of her in color. Perfect. I was like, she wasn't that long ago. There's color. There's color pictures.
Yes!
The power.
She's so cool.
And John Waters' movies are nasty. They're nasty, but they're great.
Oh? Nasty?
Not sexy. Nasty.
Oh.
Like,
oh.
they got a lot of gross stuff in them, but they're great.
Like gore? What? Gross how?
So, like, on RuPaul's Drag Race, they did a whole thing about Divine and John Waters, where they had the queens act out scenes from some of John Waters' more famous movies. And, like, one of them that lives in my brain forever is called Egg. And they had the queen just, like, sitting in a, like, crib or whatever with, like, eggs and just, like, squishing eggs, raw eggs, all over herself and the ground and stuff. That kind of stuff.
No.
I think one of John Waters' movies also had a dead animal in it.
Oh, no.
Just like a real dead animal. I think it was called Trash, maybe.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, his movies were just...
What the hell?
They were just gross.
Yeah, no, that's gross. Like, I was hoping it would be something different kind of gross, but no, that's...
Just your regular, average, everyday kind of gross, nasty shit.
His movies...
that's like, oh, we could all probably agree. That's pretty gross.
His movies were intended to be subversive. Which, yeah.
Well, I've been subversive.
Pink Flamingos is the movie I'm literally about to mention, and I put it into Google, and it says Pink Flamingos, the most controversial film in history.
See, if I typed it, it would bring up pictures of pink flamingos in The Sims.
What did it bring up for me?
Divine, the filthiest person alive.
That seems a little harsh.
Oh, Pink Flamingos does pull up the movie.
Now I gotta know. Okay.
Oh, I see what this clip is. This clip is Divine taking a shit in the park.
Oh my god.
Just on camera.
What the fuck? Look, I'm not into poop stuff.
She's just like walking along in like a really nice dress and heels. And then she just like squats in the park and poops and then takes something out of her purse and wipes her butt and throws it to the side and keeps walking.
Oh no. Oh no. No. Mm. Oh, I do not like that.
Like, on one level, I'm like, that's funny. That's got a sort of humor to it. It's really just like the contrast between somebody walking in and some super beautiful and like all done up and everything, and then she just straight up
Takes a shit
in the park. This is just fucking hilarious. At the same time, that's nasty.
John Waters is still alive. Also, so like
John Waters, you fucking nasty.
I just watched a movie.
I hope you hear this.
He knows it.
You.
I just watched a movie with him in it. It was called Suburbia or whatever. It's a comedy horror, and he was like a hotel manager, and he was sitting there with these two people, and they were like trying to convince him to do something, and the girl was like, "If you let me do this, I'll have sex with you." And he goes, "Ooh," like that. He goes, "What about him?" to the guy, and he goes, "Okay," and he starts to stand up, and she goes, "No." And he goes, and he sits back down. John Waters goes, "Ugh, well then get out of my hotel."
It sounds good. I'd watch it.
The movie was good. I also feel like you all should know that when I've talked to you about the psychic that I went to see that one time, that is probably the only real psychic I think I've ever been to. She looked like Divine.
Just like her. That tracks.
She looked just like with the tattooed on eyebrows and like the crazy makeup.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
An African girl.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, looping back to the actual episode. So, in John Waters' 1972 film Pink Flamingos, Divine scandalized audiences with her nasty character and became an icon along the way of doing that, which is how drag sort of became mainstream, is because they started putting drag queens in movies.
Mm-hmm. And
then there was a disco singer named Sylvester who sung music in drag.
Oh.
Yeah. And in the 1980s...
Wait, I'm sorry, was Sylvester their stage name or the musician's name? Like, was Sylvester the character?
I think Sylvester was the musician's name.
Okay. But
I think that's the name you can find the music under.
okay. And they just performed in drag.
Yes.
So it was like synonymous. The musician is also the drag performer. Like, it's not like one came after the other.
Right.
Got it. Sorry.
You guys always make me think of things I didn't think to get pictures of.
Oh,
That's what we're
lovely.
here for. Ooh, I love that headdress.
God damn it, Karen.
And I love the necklace. Oh, it's like an infinity scarf, but like better.
Different.
Beautiful.
His name is Sylvester. Okay. Sorry. I had
Okay.
to look.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, like, his name is Sylvester, and the character's name is also Sylvester.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Just making sure, because, the names are, like, divine.
I found an article from undiscovermusic.com about Sylvester.
Ooh.
Apparently, their song You Make Me Feel Mighty Real is one of the most well-known disco songs of all time. I've never heard of it, but I'm not from that time, so...
Yeah, we didn't grow up on disco. My parents didn't grow up on disco either. So
I get caught up in reading things, and then I forget to be polite.
oh phew.
Been there, done that.
Apparently, Sylvester is deeply gender fluid and non-binary.
Perfect. So I've been doing it right. Yeah, I was like, I think it's unique that the character and the person are the same, because usually with drag it's like a character. But yeah, I think that's rad.
So, into the 1980s. In the 1980s, drag sort of took a different turn into meaning trying to look as much like a woman as possible. So being like really passable.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a peak time in drag balls, which I still haven't talked to you about because I'm going through a timeline right now.
Mm-hmm.
So during drag balls, this was a time period when they started doing like pageants where people were trying to be like, quote, butch queen first time in a drag ball was the category.
Okay.
Butch queen. Hold on. Say it again. Butch queen.
Butch queen first time at a drag ball.
Okay.
The queens that I know, I think, that still do pageanty stuff, because they still do pageants in the drag scene. I think that's called freshest fish now.
Ah, because it's their first time at the drag ball.
Yeah, freshest fish woman.
Aw.
Fish is woman.
Aw.
Huh.
Okay. So that went from there into something that's called wig stock, which is where RuPaul got his start, really. That's where he's...
Woodstock, like Woodstock.
Yeah, but with wigs. Wig stock.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Wig stock. All right.
In 1984. So not long after that, the Washington Post wrote about America's favorite drag queen. In 1993, RuPaul went from New York's East Village to Washington to perform his song Supermodel, which was like really popular at the time, I guess. And then he got really big and famous then. So at this point, drag has like really become like a thing that's in the mainstream and everybody has heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not me, because I was a child, but everybody had heard about it.
Right.
Drag kings also got some form of popularity / notoriety in the 1990s with some various different performers, and the first International Drag King Extravaganza in 1999. And then as visibility grew, the 90s made way for more distinctions between drag and other identities in the LGBTQ spectrum. In particular, the distinction between drag queens and the trans community sort of emerged in the 90s, because before then, there was not a distinction made between being a drag queen and being transgender. But it was like somewhere in like the later 90s and early 2000s that us as a public really started caring about the distinction or about micro labels or about like all those like more nuanced terms really started flourishing, the 2000s really made way for the definition of drag to broaden from the like rigidly defined definition of like realness and passing and stuff into a more expansive art form, and from just being about gay men to encompassing like trans folks and queer women and more. And so today, drag involves a lot more than it used to. And so now I've established a timeline, and now I'm going to talk about drag balls specifically.
Woo!
So back in the 1920s, which we've already established, drag was already a thing that was happening then. The danger and segregation of the bar scene of that time period paved way for like drag balls and gay bars to sort of become their own thing. The first drag ball goes as far back as 1867, though.
Oh.
So back in 1867, well, hold on. Let me rephrase because I skipped a sentence. The drag ball tradition goes all the way back to 1867, but drag balls themselves as a tradition started out often as house parties with Black queer people. So drag balls and like drag performances and things of this nature really, I think, should be credited to the Black and people of color communities.
Seems that they should be getting a lot of credit that they don't get for a lot of things.
I mean, it seems that way. So let me go into some more detail. So in 1867, first, the Hamilton Lodge was a club for like well-off African Americans that started throwing a charity masquerade gala called the annual Odd Fellows Ball. And it featured men in female attire and women in male attire, and the event was later known as the, quote, Fairies Ball, quote. Prizes are given out for most beautiful gown and, quote, most perfect feminine body displayed by an impersonator.
Okay.
So then later from there, held in Harlem, often at something called Rockland Palace, the ball attracted people from like all over the country. So in 1886, an article in a Black newspaper called the New York Freeman, later known as the New York Age, called it the event of the season. In 1929, the same ball at the same place had to turn away something like 2,000 people.
Whoa.
Jesus.
And in 1936, less than a decade later, the ball had about 8,000 attendees.
Wow.
God.
Yes.
That's
That's
awesome.
a lot.
It is. And again, this is African Americans, so this is just all in that community. So although the Hamilton Lodge was a Black organization, quote, there were many white people present, and they danced with and among the colored people, end quote, wrote the New York Age in 1926. The paper went on to describe the queer people there and the, quote, bohemians from the Greenwich Village who, quote, took the occasion to mask as women for the affair in their gorgeous evening gowns, wigs, and powdered faces. They were hard to distinguish from many of the women, end quote, from the paper.
Okay.
In a sign of the time, a 1932 article from the African American paper noted that, quote, our members of the third sex are showing a keenness for blonde wigs. There's that quote from that paper.
Oh, so that's where it comes from.
A 1927 New York Age article describes the judging process and a grand march, it was called, which led to several eliminations and 6 prizes being awarded, adding that, quote, the police did not find it necessary to raid their establishment. So at that moment in the 20s, the police didn't particularly care to raid the drag ball.
Oh,
Thankfully.
thank fuck.
But it was the one later that they rated that I think I talked about in the last episode. Because the one that I talked about in the last episode had 700 or 800 attendees and was in the same location.
Oh.
So what changed? Was it a numbers game?
No. What changed was the next one to be rated, the New York Age stated was rated because, quote, the headline says, 15 arrested by police as fairies turn them on, end quote.
What? So,
Oh.
They were charged
Wait.
with offering lewd sex acts.
Oh no. Oh no.
wow.
So they
Really?
weren't raided and shut down because of the drag necessarily. It was because they had offered some sexual acts to some police officers, I suppose.
And the police officers were like,
Aw.
I'm not gay, and I'll prove it by arresting you.
Yes. Basically, according to the newspaper article.
Instead of doing what,
Motherfucker. What the F? What the F? Just what the F?
Yeah. I mean, look, just turn the other way. Be like, thank you. Good night.
No, thank you. Goodbye. But I guess they had something to prove.
Loved the dress. Yeah, fucking dill holes.
As you do.
So, members of the lodge, according to them, sought to have a, quote, racially and economically diverse attitude and audience, quote. All my quotes are coming from, like, the newspaper, the black newspaper of the time that ran all these stories. They lowered the price of admission so that black Harlem residents could attend the balls, but the balls still exploited racial and class divisions. Langston Hughes attended one of these, the poet.
Mm-hmm.
In his autobiography, The Big C, he calls the ball that he went to, quote, the strangest and gaudiest of Harlem spectacles, and describes how the city's, quote, intelligence and social leaders would look down from above at the queerly assorted throng on the dance floor. Males in flowing gowns and feathered headdresses, and females in tuxedos and box-back suits. He describes it. Black queens were expected to whiten their faces if they were going to win any prizes, and that is explored in a 1968 documentary called The Queen by Frank Simon, which follows an all-American Camp Beauty contest. There's a scene in there with one queen named Crystal LaBeija, I think is how you say her name, who accuses the contest of being rigged by another person named Flawless Sabrina, who's one of the MCs, and she says, as she narrates the movie, she says, "It was our goal then to look like white women. They used to tell me, you have Negro features, and I'd say, that's all right, I have white eyes, and that's just how it was back then." End quote.
Oh my god.
So, it was a black-owned organization, but there was still a lot of this sort of thing happening, which is very sad, but I can't talk about all the nice things and not mention the sad things, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it still goes on today.
Yes.
Like that, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, colorism has not stopped happening.
Yeah.
So, dude.
Fucking miserable.
Yes. Yeah, it is. So due to the increasing racial tension, both in the ball community and in America as a whole, black queens began seeking out their own spaces. Marcel Christian, who is credited with staging the first black drag ball in 1962. This splintering of the community led to the formation of houses. So one of the queens that I associate with has her own house, for example, called House Cortez. That's what that means.
Oh.
Just for people who don't know, like they are the matron of the house.
It's like a guild?
I guess you could call it that. Like the matron of the house is like responsible for teaching the like baby queens like how to do things and like how to be better queens essentially, and like I helps them like get jobs and stuff like that.
Oh, baby queen.
Oh my god.
They just hatched.
Oh my god. What I would give to be a baby queen, baby diva, and be taken under someone's wing to teach me how to be amazing.
Well, I'll arrange it.
Thank you.
Get my best friend to a baby queen diva. Ah!
Thanks. Thanks, Em. Can always count on you.
I'm doing my research.
Yeah, you will hear it. You'll hear it a lot when you spend like any time in the clubs or like around like a significant amount of drag queens. Like on my friend's page, she gets like all the little baby queens that she's been responsible for in the comments of her like Facebook posts. That'll be like Mama Cortez and stuff like that to her.
Mm-hmm.
So they just look up to her and she teaches them things.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what the houses are like. So the House of Labija may have been the very first house founded in like 1970 or 1972, but accounts differ. So, as legend has it, a Harlem drag queen named Lottie asked Crystal to co-promote a ball, and Lottie convinced Crystal to do the ball by suggesting she start her own group. The House of Labija, wherein Crystal would be the mother, and then the house became a surrogate family for the young queer Black and Latino kids who are often estranged from their biological families, living on the street, turning tricks, and otherwise struggling to get by. And so that's what happened.
Wow.
And then after that, other houses followed. So you had like, at the time, you had like the House of Corey, the House of Dior, the House of Wong, the House of Dupree, the House of Extravaganza, because Rude didn't come up with that. So the majority of these houses sprung up somewhere throughout the 70s and 80s. In an attempt to outdo one another, they would throw their own balls. So like Paris Dupree, who was the mother of House Dupree, threw a ball called Paris is Burning in 1981. And according to somebody named Kevin Omni, who is the mother of House Omni, it was the first time that like the categories that I mentioned earlier took precedence at the balls, where they started having these like competitions.
Mm-hmm.
So they've always like had the competitions, but that was when it like became like a big deal. So Omni says there was a category called Butch Realness and another called Models Effect and another called Face. Then we created all these other categories like Executive, Town and Country, Ethnic, and they continued to develop through the 80s, end quote.
We have so much.
That's, yeah.
He said these categories measured realness, the best approximation of an archetype, which in itself was a reflection of society in a world in which we couldn't gain entry. And then Dorian Corey, who's the mother of the House of Corey, said, and this is a longer quote, but it's a good quote.
Mm-hmm.
He says, in real life, you can't get a job as an executive unless you have the educational background and the opportunity. Now, the fact that you are not an executive is merely because of the social standing of life. Black people have a hard time getting anywhere, and those that do are usually straight. In a ballroom, you can be anything you want. You're not really an executive, but you're looking like an executive. You're showing the straight world that I can be an executive if I had the opportunity because I can look like one, and that's like a wish fulfillment.
Hell yeah.
End quote. Yeah. So what's I found really funny as I was putting this together was everything that I already knew about the later portion of drag history I learned from America's Next Top Model.
Oh, whoa.
What?
What?
So for a little while, I don't remember what season, but I've literally watched every season of that show.
Oh my God.
I just like it. I'm not into fashion. I just like looking at the beautiful pictures that they take.
Okay, but same. I think my first season was the petite season.
That's a nice season, I think.
I think the winner was Nicole, and that was great. I liked her.
I like the season that had the 6'3" girl Anne on it, who thought that she was
Anne,
so awful because she was
Anne.
super tall, but she's great.
She's so like not meant for reality TV, and that's what made her perfect.
Yeah, she's just a tall, awkward nerd.
She's just a tall, awkward nerd. She's like, yeah, I like,
Yeah.
She just sits in her room and reads, and everyone's like fighting in the house, and you're just sitting there like, oh, Anne, I love you.
Yep.
I would die for you.
So somewhere in like the middle portion of the seasons of that show, they had a guest on there whose name is Willy Ninja. And Willy Ninja, here's a picture.
It does not look like a Willy Ninja.
Is it because their Willy is a ninja and hides?
It just occurs to me I had these 2 pictures to show you and I forgot. So here's 2 pictures.
Oh, they're great.
Lovely.
This is a picture from a newspaper, from the newspaper I've been reading from.
Love them.
And this one is from the Paris is Burning drag ball.
Ooh, fun.
The attitude.
Yeah.
Let me find a more recent Willy Ninja. I could also just find a lot of more black and white pictures of Willy Ninja. Google just gives me 90% black and white pictures of this man. Google's like, this guy?
This one? This one?
Here you go. This one? Ah, yeah, this one. This is the one you want, yes? I don't know why that's what Google sounds like. Don't ask me.
That's always what Google sounds like when you do Google's voice. Oh my god, this is a GIF. Hold on, save this. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. I hope this works.
What the fuck?
Oh!
And you're like moving the chicken around, but the chicken's head stays in one place. Except this is a human being moving around their arms in a square and like doing a spooky walk across the floor. I don't even know how to describe that.
Well, he's voguing.
He's voguing, yes.
But very close to the ground.
Yeah, very close to the ground. Like on his toes. That's incredible.
Oh, Jesus!
Oh, God.
Oh! What the hell? Oh, golly! Oh, gosh! How do you do that with your arms? I don't like that! Oh, God! They just pulled it up! It's like the alphabet! Yeah. It's like an house! Oh, it's gone now.
Yeah, oh, man. He can really move.
Bro!
Had to delete it.
Sometimes people move too good. Oh! Oh! Oh!
Oh, I love it when people do that. I love watching those videos when they're when anytime anyone is gathered around in a circle and there are people in the center doing dancing, I'm like here for it. I'm like, oh my god, so cool.
Karen, you put yourself on the edge of that circle and go, 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 go. We're completely out of sync.
But oh man, I love the dramatic fall. Like I could never. I think there's like a TikTok compilation of white people falling, and then they input the like the exact angle to match with this type of dramatic dance fall. And it's incredible. I wish that I saved it because it was amazing. I was like,
I used to pratfall for fun.
Wow.
I did it on rooftop.
Damn.
Quite a few times. I have a video of it somewhere. I'll show you guys sometime. Remind me later.
That's like the one problem I have with if I ever wanted to do drag. I can't dance. I can't dance for shit.
You could be a comedy queen.
But I can dream. A comedy queen!
It's a thing.
Oh, I mean, of course it's a thing. It's just me. No.
Karen, you're funny. I laugh at you all the time.
I laugh at me all the time, too. Doesn't mean I can stand up in front of a bunch of people and tell some jokes.
I would literally never be able to do this. This move, the death drop, it's an iconic move. Look at this.
Yes.
Oh! Ow!
Some people just like have such strength and flexibility. I'm just always amazed. I'm like,
some people aren't afraid to hit the ground.
Yeah, they just aren't afraid.
I mean,
they have no fear.
You could always do it slow like this.
Yeah, that's me. Because like these people, when the doctor asks them, like, do you have a fear of falling? Like, they say no.
I don't know if I could get my knee to do that anymore. Gotta work on my flexibility. Let's see if I could do that this time next year.
No.
Well, yeah.
So
Next Pride Month,
we'll all learn
Pride 2023.
Death drop? No.
We'll all death drop. It's gonna happen.
Someone write it down. I'm writing it down now.
And then we'll have to have some life alerts.
Yeah.
Somebody can help us get back up.
Help! I've dislocated my knee and I can't get up.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Been there.
Okay.
Damn.
So
Man, next year I'm gonna be 57, so better look out.
So Willy Ninja is how I know anything about the later portion of drag history, because Willy Ninja is the grandfather of voguing.
Oh.
Oh!
Yeah. So voguing, of course, because we all know it, but I don't know how many people listening would know it. I would hope everyone, because I hope everybody listening at this point is gay. But voguing was a nonviolent way.
Educating people.
Yes. So voguing was essentially meant to be a nonviolent way of fighting during the balls. And was like divided into 3 phases. The old way emerged in the 60s and was just posing and emulating movements from like fashion magazines, from which the dance takes its name, Vogue, you know? And then the new way developed in the 80s and was like dynamic and acrobatic and athletic and involved contortion and like martial arts, and that's Willy Ninja right there, from the House of Ninja, you know. And that's been he's just synonymous with voguing because he essentially invented what we think of as voguing now, because nobody remembers the original way anymore. And then the third most recent form developed in the mid-90s and is called Vogue Femme. And it involves hyper-effeminate posturing along with intricate hand and arm movements and dips known as death drops. And so that's what we're at. That's where we're at right now, unless a new form has developed that I am unaware of.
Very possible. So it's a dance-off.
Yeah, it's a dance-off. It's like a form of a dance-off, yes. And look at this man.
It's a gay dance-off.
Look at this man moving that gif I sent. He'd win.
Yes.
If somebody did that coming towards me, I'd be like, okay, man, you win. I quit.
Yeah, you got it.
I start screaming. I'm like, oh god! My sleep paralysis demon came to life.
It's just because he's so low to the ground and he's moving so fast.
It's the head. It's the head is staying steady. He's the focus. It's like a camera sliding over to you on one of those fucking things that, wheels.
Incredible.
So, yeah, the history of the evolution of voguing has coincided with the shifting aesthetics of the ballroom culture in the more recent time, away from pageantry and into like high fashion. And so that's where that's at. And that's the history of drag balls. As far as I am aware, drag balls don't go on in the same way that they used to go on, but they still exist, and they've been existing since the 1860s.
Wow.
And drag's been around since basically the ancient Greeks in some form or other.
Yes. Yes.
We fucking love it.
I just adore. I adore.
And just to say here at the end, because we did briefly talk about RuPaul, and now I'll mention what I was trying to say in the middle when I got distracted, so that I can actually say it. You don't have to be a man dressing up as a woman to do drag. You can be a cisgendered female and still do drag. It's just you're called something different. You're called nowadays. I've been reading this whole time. They don't necessarily like the word faux queen anymore, but they used to call them faux queens. So diva queens, hyper queens, or they just call them AFAB queens, assigned female at birth queens. And those are just assigned female at birth women who are also drag queens. But they still do drag in the same way with the wigs and the makeup and the exaggerated outfits and put on a performance, because it is about the performance and not about the fact that the person underneath the performance has a penis.
Exactly.
I do drag every day. Nothing I wear is gendered.
That's true. I think you just play your authentic self.
I just walk around and sometimes people get it right. I just wear green. So Karen was right in the beginning. My gender is green.
Yeah.
Well, I almost said what color I wear most frequently, but then that would have sounded bad. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's not your fault.
my gender is light goth.
Yes. Yes. That's probably the safest way to say it. Yeah.
I identify masculinely, though. I have a gender. I do gender.
Yeah.
Gender exists for y'all. I'm just over here like, I don't know, man. Maybe.
I ain't got time for this.
That's a lot of fucking work. You know how expensive it is to go one or the other? Very.
I couldn't find non-binary drag queens and male, signed male at birth drag kings don't have specific names as far as I could tell for them. So, I don't know. Not as far as I could tell.
There's a first for everything. If you're listening to this and you identify as one of these people that we don't know the names of yet, please let us know because we're so interested.
It's drag monarchy, you assholes.
What?
Perfect.
Oh!
If you're out there, congratulations, my eminence. Your eminence, the eminence, your grace.
They're right. They're right and they should say it.
I did say it. It's too late.
They're out there.
We are very excited to take your questions too, because we want to hear them and we want to answer them, and we are so super qualified to answer questions. So what you can do is you could visit our website, which is whywouldyouskthat.com, and go to that little contact form, throw in a question, or you can email us at whywouldyouskthatpod@gmail.com. So please send us your questions. We don't care how weird it is, how gross it is. Just don't ask any personal questions. That's our one line. Ask your weird questions. That's what we want. So thank you for listening. This is M, Karen, and Remy, and ask us some shit.
Give us your ats so I can watch. I want to watch. I love performers. I don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race because I don't want to support RuPaul, and I feel like his show's a bummer. But I do love drag queens. I love theater, really, is the end all be all of it.
I love wild shit.
So does Divine.
Don't forget to wipe your asses and wash your hands. Thanks everybody for listening.
Good night.